Basically, the topic is how best to give rebuke, how to give feedback to somebody. This is chapter 19, Vayikra, verse 17. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall reprove your fellow and do not bear a sin because of him. Right? So basically, this verse says you should not, it opens up saying you should not hate your brother, and then you should reprove. There's a mitzvah to give feedback, to reprove, to rebuke. And then it ends up, you shall not bear a sin because of him. So within this verse, actually this one verse, you have a few hints of how to do it. So the first one is, when you're coming to give rebuke to somebody, it's a mitzvah to do it. The first thing is, do not hate your brother in your heart. In general, when you're coming to give rebuke, check whether you have hatred in your heart towards that individual. If you hate them or you're upset with them, maybe the rebuke you're going to give them isn't coming from the purest of places. So the verse opens up, do not hate your brother in your heart. Then it says, so that's the first guidance, like in general, see if you feel hatred towards them. The second guidance is based on a commentary I saw. If you look in the Hebrew, it says, hocheach tochiach. Says it twice, rebuke, rebuke. So I saw one commentator say, why does it say it twice? One is first rebuke yourself on that specific thing, and then go to rebuke them. Meaning, you might be frustrated with what someone's doing at work or in your life or your spouse, something where you're really triggering you. First, see if that's something you're struggling with as well. A lot of times, something we see in somebody else is something that's bothering us with ourselves. So that's more specific. In general, see if you hate them or not in your heart. Then check if the specific thing is something that you're struggling with too. If it is, maybe your rebuke against them, towards them, is really you being frustrated with something that you have in yourself. Once you check those two elements, then it goes on to say, the language is, it says, Ocheach tochech et amitecha. We're going in order of the pursuit. Go give rebuke to your amitecha. What's amitecha? In English is translated as fellow. But the language could have said chaver, your echad. It says amitecha. What does amitecha mean? Could mean that there's different ways to go with this, but one way is to say, like, look at that individual like you're with them. Im, like to be with somebody. Amitecha. Speak to them like this is how to go about doing it practically. Speak to them with tact. Let's say you're like on a basketball team, you're trying to get your team, you're with them, with those people. You're trying to encourage them to do something on the basketball court. You're going to speak to them in a certain way to get, if they're your partner in what you're doing, you speak to them with tact, with kindness, sensitivity. If you're close to them, that's what you would do. So I think this is hinting to how we should go about doing it. In general, should not hate them. And specifically, see if you're suffering from that same thing. And last is to speak to them like amitecha, like they're your partner. Do it in a tactful way that'll be effective. If you do all these things, then you'll be able to improve their lives. If you don't, then the end of the verse will happen. You'll bear a sin because of him. Meaning, do these things and do not bear a sin because of him. Because if you do these things the right way, they'll be helped and you won't be doing it from a wrong place.